All right. Good morning, YouTubers. And if you're watching this as a rerun, you can skip ahead 12 minutes. Okay. Right around there. We should be able to start up on the regular radio side of things on that. Just getting things organized is what we're doing here. BJ Kuntz, thank you for subscribing to my channel here this morning. Appreciate that. Mr. Bulgy, good morning. Morning. I got to look at what our forecast is today here because she was a bit on the breezy side yesterday. Morning, Waylon. It's currently 13 degrees. Got chilly last night. 37 and 10 to 15 winds. Okay. 53 tomorrow. There you go. Not too bad. Morning, Levi. Good morning, Minnesota Dave. Got an inch of rain last night. Really? Question, who makes the best 6.5 Creedmoor? I'm going to build a coyote gun. Oh, man, that's a good question. Okay, so I don't think anybody builds a bad one. So the one that I used, I don't know if Savage makes these. This was back when Savage was run by a good guy and people that really, really went after it. And I think I have the Savage Model 110. It's got the big 1.25 inch bull barrel on it. Way heavy, okay? But it is a tack driving machine. Right now, I don't think you get a bad one unless God darn it, I don't even know. It's a good question. I haven't bought a 6.5. I got a carbon fibered barreled one, but I haven't even set that thing up yet, so I have no idea. So I don't know. The Winchester, the X models, I really like those. Look into those a little bit. I don't know if you're looking. I'd almost encourage you to go kind of custom, kind of put together what you want. If you're going to use this as a coyote gun, you got to be comfortable behind it because you're going to shoot way more coyotes in your lifetime than deer or anything else if you really get serious about it. So just I'd go custom. Anyway, Dan Brown, good morning here. Wayne, good morning. 15 and windy there. Is the wind blowing here? I haven't even checked yet. Little breeze. It's way down from yesterday. Morning, Mr. Mayor. And Eric, good morning. Good deal here. All right. Well, let's take my shot of ivermectin for the week here. I'm surprised. I've had in the last month, I've probably had 12 people ask me my regimen. And I'm like, nobody knows that by now. It's been 5 years. The taste gets better and better, I tell you that. Well, let's see. What are we going to get into and stir the pot today? I think we will. Feel like the pot needs to be stirred. Like gravy. If you leave it sit too long, you get this little skim thing on top here, and nobody wants that. So we got to stir it and make sure it stays warm. Morning. Some wind here north of Morristown, but way better than yesterday. Yeah, it's still going to be a little, it's always breezy in this damn area, but I got my cows out of the winter pasture, only missing 2. I thought 1, but 2. Now, who knows? I had a little breakout issue. I had some elk cross the river. Ice went out. Shit went down. So I think they're over in the neighbors, and I'll get them when we get them. But that's pretty good coming out of that deep pasture. But anyway, and Got them moved out, sorted, and moved out to individual pastures for the second cycle, and all the first are in the other one. And don't start calving until hopefully another week here, but you never know. Stations. Why doesn't my timer work here? Ruh-roh. That ain't good. All right, I got to use the old-fashioned clock on here. Station 7 o'clock coming up. I don't know why my computer doesn't show my clock in the clock format anymore. Interesting. Whoops. I don't want to do that. No. Huh. All right. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Mountain or Central Time. Coming up here on Mark. Interesting. Why my clock doesn't work. All these damn updates a guy has to do to your stuff and then pull something out of it. Who's this? Let's see. All right. Yeah, I'm helping neighbor pelvic measure today. So that'll be fun. Whoa, that's loud in the eardrums here. All right, Dusty, giving you a call here, buddy. Okay. Used to remember so many more numbers when I was a kid.
Hey, morning, Scott.
Morning, Dusty. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We got about 4.5 minutes or so here.
Okay.
So,
what do you really hit on today?
Oh, we'll just stir the damn pot is what we're going to do.
Sounds good. You just lead the way, man.
Oh, we'll just get updated. I haven't gotten an update from you for forever on, so. But yeah, I think it's about time we're coming off a crossover, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Wasn't discussed this week, so it sounds like it's going to be discussed next week, and amendments still added. And
okay.
We've been fighting them big time, those amendments, because it's a couple on the committee, the chair and vice chair's agenda, just like last time. But
yeah.
We don't have to mention names or anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking through some of the stuff there. I went on the Game and Fish website and what they have listed for legislation on their list and look through some of those. And I did South Dakota update last week, so
okay.
They don't have much. South Dakota is pretty friendly to their landowners and property rights. So there's a few things we had to discuss, but yeah.
Sure. We're not too up on all the other bills in North Dakota, I guess, the Game and Fish, but
that's all right. I mean, the other ones are kind of just cleaning up some language, basically.
Okay.
I mean, but I'm sure we can discuss plenty of other things.
You bet.
Let's see here. Okay. Make sure I got all my ducks in a row here.
You bet.
Oh, man. That was a windy one yesterday.
That's what I hear.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, we're down in Texas, so we got to do the beach here for a couple weeks, but everybody says it's pretty nasty. Kind of actually through the Midwest, like Arkansas, Texas, there's a big pile up in Amarillo because of a dust storm. And
yeah. It says my audio has a scratch to it. Interesting. You can hear me fine, right, Dusty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I will continue to see what's going on there. All right. Thank you, Kendall. Audio is scratchy. Interesting. I don't know why that would be.
Was it coming from my side?
What's that?
Coming from my side or your side?
I don't know. The YouTube listeners are saying it's scratchy, which is I wouldn't know what that is here. Maybe there's a little lag on something I'm not sure of here.
Okay.
Shouldn't be, but we're gonna have to run with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because I'm no way I have time right now. I got less than 30 seconds to shut her down and come back in. Sounds like the wind is rattling wires, comes and goes. Huh.
What the heck?
Is it when I move my microphone only, or what the heck?
Sound a little muffled there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to run with it the way it is. Scott Bulgy says he logged out and came back in. Stand by. Coming at you here. No, we got 60 seconds. I'm on the wrong. 60 seconds to go here. Okay, shut it off and come back. No, it was both of you. Your guest betting it's an internet issue. Log out, log back in. Shut down YouTube and come back in and see if that was it. Who knows? Sometimes the connections aren't always the greatest. All right, we got about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn you down there, Dusty. Stand by here. We'll be starting shortly. Stations, 20 seconds. 20 seconds on mark. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Heard all across the Dakota Territory on great stations like KCJB and Minot, KLTC Dickinson, K-Fire 550 in Bismarck, Mandan, KOLY Mobridge, and KGFX in the Pierce, South Dakota side of things. Good to have you all along here this morning on a Saturday. Big windy day yesterday at the ranch. Going to be a little on the breezy side, not too bad, but I hear that's moving over to the eastern side. So you guys can have the wind for today. A lot of things going on here legislative-wise. We caught up last week with Orrin on the South Dakota side. Let's see what's going on the North Dakota side. I welcome Dusty Backer to the show. Good morning, Dusty. How you been?
Hey, great, Scott. Thanks for having me on again. How's it going?
Well, we haven't had an update from you for a while, and I know you guys have been very, very busy in the North Dakota legislative side with the, I'm going to call it a hunting ban issue. So I don't know what else people call it, the baiting bill. I mean, it's really not about baiting or anything. It's just about hunting over that bait. So why would it be called a baiting bill?
That's because the human dimensions comes into play when the game of fish labeled it the baiting restriction, right?
I see. Okay.
Baiting just does when it brings ethics into it, just a whole other can of worms, and that's how 1151 a couple of years ago got defined as the baiting bill, and that is totally misinformation. It's a hunting restriction.
Yeah. All right. Well, what has the give us from the day one that you've been going up to the Capitol on this here? What bill number is this one this year?
This one is SB 2137.
Okay.
And Keith Bain's the sponsor of it. And it's we got up through the Senate 3118 on the Senate for a vote. And now it's on the House side and was heard in committee last Friday, March 7th, was the verbal testimonies. And between the Senate and the House, I believe there's over 300 written testimonies. Like you wouldn't think with all, there's a lot of important bills out there, not just hunting related, but This is still one of the biggest bills in legislation. That just shows how passionate the people are about this topic, Scott.
So to give everybody an update on what 2137 is, and I'm reading this off the Game and Fish website here. It says the department may not adopt a rule or implement a policy prohibiting or restricting the use of supplemental feed on private property for hunting a big game animal. And it seems to come down to not only a hunting issue, but a private property issue.
Absolutely. So basically, you can already supplemental feed on your private property anywhere you want, any amount at any time in the entire state, even in the restricted units. So it's not even about feeding or supplemental feeding. They just tell you can't hunt over it on your private property.
Yeah.
So it is a hunting restriction, and it's definitely a private property rights issue.
Yeah. Are you catching a lot of other people, maybe different organizations that are backing you up on this, or is it just the people that you've been talking with and I mean, who's all involved in helping out with this and supporting you?
Yeah, in North Dakota, as far as the organizations go, Farm Bureau is the big one behind us, and the Stockman's is behind us,
Okay.
and obviously majority of the people. Because we get a lot of information from legislators and talking to them about how passionate the people are about this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's good that you have other support from other organizations, and they always lead a little bit. It's power in numbers, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And the people, I mean, we have the people, and really, to back up, I think it's kind of forgotten that the agencies and legislation work for the people, right? It starts from the people to the government.
Yeah.
And we should not have to work this hard to get a bill through, because it seems like if a legislator brings a bill, they can no problem get it through. But
Right.
the people got to push and fight and pride, and it's like we're just not being heard.
You think, yeah, well, it could be a legislator issue too, right? I mean, they may not see the same way that you do.
And that's right, but that's not doing their job. We hired them to listen to the people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to admit, though, I mean, there's some pretty big lobbyist groups going up in the Capitol that are going against you. I mean, and they're big lobby groups. And it's kind of coming to that. Like, I mean, honestly, in North Dakota, it's you get to serve 8 years. It's a biennial. So, I mean, you get to really serve 4 years, and you don't really get into the swing of things just yet. I'm all for term limits, but that seems awful short. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of a lobbyist type of situation the way it is anyway.
And it is, the lobbyists are big in there. But I can tell you what makes a huge difference. Like, we've been personally at the Capitol lobbying, and the people make a huge difference in there. And they don't see a lot of just residents in there visiting with legislators and lobbying, because majority of the people, that's why you belong to an organization, let them lobby for you.
No.
However, like Farm Bureau, they let their members vote for policy, where the organizations against CWD just across the nation, they don't let their members vote on policy. It's just a couple at the top.
Right.
And that's what's not right.
So what do you think? It's passed the Senate. You said 3118 that goes into the House. What's your take on that?
We're getting a really good feeling from the House.
Good.
They just, as far as the committee right now, I know it's 1151. There was a setback in a limit that was put on last time 2 years ago, and that's been brought up again, which has nothing to do again with this bill. Like, what does a setback off a fence line or a limit like a 5-gallon bucket or 50-gallon limit have to do with a hunting restriction? Because again, that's just another private property rights issue. So they can tell me what I can and can't put down on property. That's like me telling my farmer neighbor, hey, you can't plant corn and beans in your field. You got to plant something else.
Or you got to stay a quarter mile away from the fence line, even though you own the land up to the fence line. You got to stay away a quarter mile and plant less corn over here and just let it go to grass. Huh? Yeah,
exactly. When the people won that battle back in 2009, they showed up for the feeding of wildlife. So that's not even topic at hand here. It was brought up 2 years ago, and now they're trying to bring it up again. It's just like, call the committee and say that it's no on amendments, no vote on amendments.
Yeah,
do not pass the bill.
Just interesting how you see things tied into all these bills, right? They come back, they go back to committee, and then they're like, well, let's take that out, but let's add in this from something else. And if you're not keeping up on this, I mean, it just changes so quickly if you're not taking, I mean, you really have to devote yourself. And I think you've done quite a bit of that this year. Have anybody approached you as you being a lobbyist for the people?
Nope. Nobody's approached, and wouldn't even go down that path either. It's just like, we can make a difference. You just have to make the time and get in there. The people can make a huge difference. I mean, exactly. You see a couple of us in there talking to legislators. Can you imagine having 50 of us in there talking to them?
No.
I mean, it's a huge difference.
Well, and it's so hard for some of us too. I mean, it comes into calving season, right? And
Right.
for a lot of the landowners out there that have cattle, it's a tough time to get away and be able to go up there. So on our behalf, we appreciate what you guys are doing up that way. So hopefully it goes into the Senate. When are we going to see that start to be talked about here? Or no, it goes into the House. Sorry.
In the House. So it sounds like this next Thursday, Friday, it's going to be probably discussed and voted on, and then it'd probably be the following week would be the House floor.
Okay.
So, and if anybody watched the verbal testimony on March 7th, then there's a lot of stuff to talk about there too, about how the game of fish are still pushing fear into the lawmakers as they did with 1151.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in 1151, 2 years ago.
We're going to talk about that. If you're up against our first break here, Dusty, and I want to kind of get into that a little bit too. So stand by. Dusty Backer, my guest here today. A little update on the legislation and CWD talk here. We'll have more coming up after our first break. Dakota Prairie Outdoors right here, live and local on a I want to say a pretty good Saturday morning here. We'll be back right after these messages.
Agriculture is a community of hard work, passion, optimism for the future, and a commitment to the livestock and land. For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been a leader in ag financing. Our local lending team knows the industry and the challenges, from droughts to winter blizzards. Stop by one of our branches today in your work boots or cowboy boots. You're always welcome.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to the next round of upcoming auctions. 160 acres in Rolette County, 477 in Stutzman and Lemoore counties, 308 in Lemoore County, and 153 acres in McLean County. Upcoming equipment sales is the Western Dakota Spring 2025 auction in Bowman on March 27th, the Harmon Farm Retirement Auction in Carrington on April 10th, and the Central Dakota Equipment Auction in Steele, North Dakota, April 15th. For more information and to bid online, go to Pfeifers.com.
If you're in the market for Red Angus bulls with performance, efficiency, and longevity, check out the 2025 private treaty offering from Dry Creek Ranch. Sons out of Duff Redblood, HXC Allegiance, 6 Mile Timberlake, and Wasm Seneca are up for grabs. We are committed to providing the highest quality genetics to help maximize your herd's productivity and long-term success. Stop in at the ranch anytime near Amadon, North Dakota, or give us a call at 701-523-8285 to visit about the bulls. Check out our program at drycreekranchnd.com or view our private treaty info on DV Auction.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com. Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch and Spring Angus out of Ekalaka, Montana remind you about their sale coming up April 25th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Bowman Livestock Market, Bowman, North Dakota. Selling 75 head of bulls featuring Sons of Wolverine, Summit, Rimfire, Medrock, Beaver Creek, and many more. Medicine Rocks and also Spring Angus invite you to their annual sale, April 25th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Bowman Livestock Market, Bowman, North Dakota. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Western Frontier Insurance, agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or talking animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered with price in mind. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, Wilton, Bowman, and Hettinger.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. 2 decades strong, working on the third here around the ranch. Good to have you along here today. Dusty Backer is my guest as we get talking not only to some legislation, but we're going to dive into this a little bit more because, Dusty, welcome back here. The big issue with this 2137 bill is we want to be able to supplemental feed, put food plots out, do what we want. It's a private property issue in my mind. But they say people are claiming that the congregation of deer creates chronic waste disease spread. And I don't know if you've ever seen a silage pile someplace where how many white-tailed deer sit on top of a silage pile. Yeah. Are they going to start making people get rid of those or fencing them or what? I mean, what the heck's going on here? I mean, is there that much chronic waste disease in the state of North Dakota that we have to worry about this? I mean, it must be killing way more deer than EHD because I didn't hear any complaints about EHD. That's just nature, right? So where's it stand at this point?
Oh, there was 17 detections last year out of 1,400, 1,456 tests again. So as we've talked many times, Scott, this whole thing is a testing epidemic because, again, in the entire nation, there literally is maybe 2 or 3 that have actually been confirmed.
So
that actually have holes in the brain.
What's the difference between detection and confirmed? I mean, when I hear, when people, I say more than just me, I think when people hear, oh, there's, X amount of deer that were tested positive for chronic waste disease is what it comes out to say. What does that mean?
So they label a chronic wasting disease as a TSE, which is a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy, which is just basically holes in the myelin sheath in the brain. And to see that, to have confirmation, you have to be able to put it under the microscope to see the holes in the brain. So a positive detection is just a detection by these tests that have never been proven that they're even testing a prion. It still to this day has never been seen under the microscope and is a hypothesis. Because we work with a pathologist who has used an electron microscope of 126,000 magnification, and someone in verbal testimony on one of our prion bills, 1325, was working with a 25-year supposedly prion biologist out of Creighton University, and the guy's never seen a prion. He makes synthetic prions, Scott, and when they inject these synthetic prions into animals, that's gain-of-function research, but he's never seen one and claims that a prion is a little bigger than the double helix. Well, our pathologist, who's got a book in the Smithsonian Institute, is a national treasure. He's done 30,000 autopsies, electron microscope, 126,000 magnification. He can see the double helix too, DNA basically.
Yeah.
And he's never seen a prion, so it doesn't exist. So you have to do an necropsy. You have to see the myelin under the microscope to confirm. That's why we call this thing a testing epidemic, Scott, because they can't even show us what the tests are detecting. They're just picking up some kind of junk.
Interesting.
That's why I got to test healthy harvested deer, because there's only been a handful of what they call clinical deer in North Dakota. Well, a clinical deer could, if it's not under the microscope, seeing holes in the brain, that clinical deer spinning circles could have a zinc deficiency.
Right.
There's many nutrient deficiencies that deer can be look clinical to have a disease. You know, you get with livestock. I mean, if you don't give them salt blocks or mineral blocks all winter long when they have babies in there, and I mean, we got rid of Alzheimer's in the 70s because of high doses of selenium and vitamin E, and diseases, you know, eliminated in livestock industry 100 years ago through nutrition.
Yeah.
CWD is just a testing epidemic.
Interesting. You know, you'd think too, if there is something like, I mean, it's too bad we couldn't work with like the deer farmers and find one that is confirmed and try to use different minerals and everything like that. And maybe they would come right out of it. You know, I mean, it's too bad we couldn't test deeper into it. Now, when say the Game and Fish, they always do the head collections around the fall for deer heads and everything. What are they looking at then if they say something is tested positive? What are they testing different than under the microscope here?
Well, that's the thing. Nobody does test under the microscope. They're just taking basically the government peer-reviewed, paid-for studies, and they just take the lymph node out of the head of the deer and they just send it off to labs. And there's only 31 labs that have total control of the test, Scott.
Okay.
All the testing and everything. We've even contacted them and they can't even tell us that the tests are picking up a prion.
Interesting. So I see that 1325 failed the House. So that's out, I guess, right? So where do you go from there when you talk about CWD and detecting it to the point that you want to see it detected? How does a person get to that point?
So 1325, we kind of came up with a compromise because there was talk in there. You know, we wanted the prion for every detection in North Dakota. We wanted to see what the tests were picking up. But the Game and Fish have a few legislators in there that save them on a few bills. So we were told this was going to die as soon as it arrived. So we just came up with a compromise on that one because we wanted some numbers available to the public. We shouldn't always have to ask for the numbers. So we wanted to know how many detections, how many clinical, and we did kind of come up with a compromise on that one to give the people something.
Good.
Because they didn't want the electron microscope cost money, and they didn't want the Game and Fish to have to spend all this money, and where is it coming from? Although they can use our money to print out billboards and pamphlets, and that's fine. I mean, they've used $100,000 or about $1 million, $919,000 to use our money to basically brainwash us. And now the month of March here, they're really, I don't know if you've seen it, Scott, but we get messages and calls all the time about, wow, Dusty, they were really pushing CWD now. Since when did they push CWD, Scott? In March. I mean, commercials, newspaper articles, and I mean, it's pretty unreal how they're pushing hard. I mean, that just tells us that they know they're defeated, and they're making some mistakes, Scott.
So wasn't it like Colorado was one of the first states way back in the 60s that detected this in their state? And, you know, a person be interesting, you know, they've been at it a lot longer than most other states in the nation. Where are they sitting at right now? Have you ever discussed with other states how they're doing their detections or their studies?
Yeah, and they all do the same thing. I mean, this is every nation is doing the same thing.
Okay.
And it was actually I discovered in the Colorado State University back in 1967. But nutrient deficiencies in clinical deer have been around forever. That's just animals get sick and die, right?
Yeah.
They use the same test as our Game and Fish, and same thing with Wyoming and Colorado. Keep in mind, Colorado, Wyoming, they don't even have feeding.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't do any of that stuff. Yeah, that's been, and they still have it. What? I thought it was supposed to cure it.
Exactly. So everything that they've been using the agencies, all they do in every state is test, what's that doing for deer or people? They restrict, what's that do for deer or people? Or they slaughtered animals.
Yeah.
Which does nothing for the deer or the people.
Yeah, I understand that, CWD, I think it's real, right? I don't think it's a false thing at all. I do think that, I think we should look at EHD that's proven to kill a lot of deer, right? And I think we could try to do something about that, maybe a little bit. I don't think CWD's, it's not fatal if you cook your deer meat or anything like that. There's no rules, you cannot eat it, right?
Absolutely not. No.
So I wish we could kind of get a little bit more on both sides of that. And I don't know, the department probably looks at it and says, we have to do something, right? I mean, whether they're getting pressure from the federal side, maybe, I don't know. Are they getting pressure? Who they're getting pressure from to put out all this information and advertisements and all this so early? I'm not sure. Do you know? Are they getting pressured from other people?
Absolutely. It's federally pressured because every state is tied. I think we've talked about this before, to the AFWA document, Associations of Fish and Wildlife Agency. That's this entire CWD push. I mean, it's a 111-page document where all Jeb Williams, our director, and Charlie Bonson are in that document. It's called the Western AFWA. There's like 20-some states and Canadian provinces in this document, and Jeb actually sits on committees on that document. And it's not even an agency, Scott. I can't stress this one enough. It's a nonprofit organization that lobbies for this federal money, and Jeb and Charlie are in this document.
Huh. Interesting. This is why you dug into it way more than I have, and I kind of shut myself out of a lot of the social media stuff, so I don't get to see a lot of that. But money has a lot to do with it. We'll come back more here. Dusty Backer's my guest here. Second half of the program. If you have questions or comments, feel free to call in 888-9-DAKOTA. That's 888-932-5682, or you can text me at 701-425-6651. I'm live chatting on my YouTube channel as well. Back after these messages.
Agriculture is a community of hard work, passion, optimism for the future, and the commitment to the livestock and land. For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been a leader in ag financing. Our local lending team knows the industry and the challenges, from droughts to winter blizzards. Stop by one of our branches today in your work boots or cowboy boots. You're always welcome.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to the next round of upcoming auctions. 160 acres in Rolette County, 477 in Stutzman and Lemoore counties, 308 in Lemoore County, and 153 acres in McLean County. Upcoming equipment sales is the Western Dakota Spring 2025 auction in Bowman on March 27th, the Harmon Farm Retirement Auction in Carrington on April 10th, and the Central Dakota Equipment Auction in Steele, North Dakota, April 15th. For more information and to bid online, go to Pfeifers.com.
If you're in the market for Red Angus bulls with performance, efficiency, and longevity, check out the 2025 private treaty offering from Dry Creek Ranch. Sons out of Duff Redblood, HXC Allegiance, 6 Mile Timberlake, and Wasm Seneca are up for grabs. We are committed to providing the highest quality genetics to help maximize your herd's productivity and long-term success. Stop in at the ranch anytime near Amadon, North Dakota, or give us a call at 701-523-8285 to visit about the bulls. Check out our program at drycreekranchnd.com or view our private treaty info on DV Auction.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com. Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch and Spring Angus out of Ekalaka, Montana remind you about their sale coming up April 25th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Bowman Livestock Market, Bowman, North Dakota. Selling 75 head of bulls featuring Sons of Wolverine, Summit, Rimfire, Medrock, Beaver Creek, and many more. Medicine Rocks and also Spring Angus invite you to their annual sale, April 25th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Bowman Livestock Market, Bowman, North Dakota. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Western Frontier Insurance, agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or talking animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered with price in mind. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, Wilton, Bowman, and Hettinger.
On that road. But don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Live and local all across the area here. Good to have you along here today. Dusty Backer's my guest here. Dusty, during the break, you and I were discussing a few things, and I mentioned to you, I said, when you talk about, right now we can feed as much as we want, anywhere we want. We just can't hunt over it in certain areas and units and what have you. And I made the comment to saying, well, eventually they're going to probably go after that too. And you said something that alarmed me, and tell people what you know about this here.
Well, the Game and Fish, they have on video and on record that they want total control over feeding of wildlife. Like, this started back in 2005, Scott, when supposedly there was TB positive. I'm not exactly sure where it was on the Minnesota side or what came up. So they tried to ban feeding then of wildlife, but in 2007 and 2009, the people spoke and actually showed up at the Capitol, from people wanting to feed their birds to wildlife, and they won the feeding of wildlife. And thanks to those people, that's why we can feed wildlife, deer, pheasants, anytime, anywhere, any amount now, is because of those people standing up. And imagine that. So 2009, here comes the first detection of CWD. 2010, the first restricted units, and there was in 3F2. TB didn't work, so they had to go a different avenue to try to take feeding of wildlife away from the people after they had won it. Here comes CWD, and it's been a fight ever since.
Seems very convenient that CWD came in at that time. So here's what scares me. Okay, as a rancher, I do a very minimal scratching of dirt up here for hay ground or any type of forage. But the agricultural side works so well with the hunting side of things. So what's to say that they're going to start controlling what we plant in fields? All right. Like the mayor of Mobridge here, he says, tell me how a cornfield, bean, or alfalfa field is not just one giant food plot. Is it going to be coming to the point where they're going to be telling people what you can and can't plant, or how big those acres or fields have to be? What is a food plot size? We have small fields at the ranch here. I mean, we're looking at 15 acres and under, just little strips, because back in the day, like back in the 30s, they didn't have big equipment and they didn't really change anything. There's tree rows between each one of them. So this is something that the agricultural side needs to wake up to, because not only a private property right issue, but how much do they say feeding the wildlife? I mean, if I roll a bale out down for my cows, this winter I had like 40 some cow elk eating on that hay too. Am I going to be fined for doing that?
That's a good question. And that's what doesn't make sense with the hypocrisy around the CWD narrative. There's so much, and you can poke holes in everything. Because the feeding of wildlife, I mean, it's just been done to keep animals, alive in the winter for years, for decades. A couple of years ago, we lost 50,000 plus deer of starvation. While they're starving because of nutrients. And they aborted fawns. We saw so many does that didn't have fawns that year. I mean, nutrition is so important.
I didn't realize it was going to get to this point. I really didn't. So a text comes in and says, I'm in 3F2, only found one deer with a quote-unquote possible CWD death according to the supposed symptoms. Had it tested not by Game and Fish, and it came back negative. Have found more dead whitetails from EHD on our place than anything else. So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about is, there's other things we could possibly be doing. And how is CWD not natural? I don't understand. Some people say, well, that's not a natural way of dying. Well,
absolutely.
How is it not?
Absolutely, it is. They refer to Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease in humans, CJD. It's called. It's holes in the brain. It's supposed to be identical under the microscope, and the pathology is the same. But CJD is not contagious through bodily fluids, and 1 out of 2 people out of 1 million come down with that disease a year. That's how rare it is. And CWD is no different. Yeah. It's not contagious, and it's just that rare.
I forget the guy's name. They called him Doctor of CWD on my radio show, I think like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And this guy was that's all he did was research CWD. And they were talking about the prion. He said it's passed through saliva and urine. And he claimed that the deer would have to drink like an obscene amount, like 6 or 7 gallons of urine in order to get one of these prions possibly and that doesn't happen. And, so, I mean, this guy debunked all of this stuff. I mean, I might need to get him back on unless they censored him. They may have censored him somehow. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's discuss something that I didn't know you did. You do beekeeping. And what's the professional word for that?
Well, you can call it apiary or beekeeping or, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I did not know that you do this here. You have hives all over the United States here. And, the biggest thing is I don't think I've ever discussed beekeeping on my radio program ever in my life. And it's something that I drink honey all winter long, man. I mean, it's an auctioneer's little trick on how to keep your throat ready for the next auction is hot honey, right? And it's got healing properties is what I've been saying. And I'll tell you this right now, I'm a big fan of it. What state makes the best honey right now?
North Dakota, hands down.
It does.
That's why it's the number 1 honey producing state in the nation, has been for, I don't even know, 15, 20 years probably.
I thought South Dakota was number 1. I didn't know North Dakota hit number 1. Okay.
Well, South Dakota makes good honey too. It's kind of the same with alfalfa and sweet clover and sunflower and stuff. But South Dakota, they have I think a 2 or 3 mile limit law. So you can't have a bee yard within 3 miles of somebody else or your own. And North Dakota, we don't have that law. Okay. So many more beekeepers come to North Dakota from all over the country.
Interesting. And sweet clover is the best stuff, or alfalfa?
Sweet clover, I would say, in our opinion, is probably the best tasting honey. But alfalfa, sweet clover is usually the mix. Because, North Dakota, especially the western half, it's all the alfalfa that's planted.
Yeah. Yeah, we get sweet clover, the years that it comes out, man, it is thick in a lot of the areas here. So that's it's interesting. How about like in the other states? You said you just brought some from California. I mean, give us the whole research of what'd you do in California? Now you're in Texas. What's happening here?
So in California, we're there for the almond pollination. So 80% of the world's almonds are grown in California, and they don't produce a nut without being pollinated. And they usually take like 1.5 to 2 hives per acre in California. So we pollinated the month of February. They basically release our bees from us for 30 days, and then the almonds just finished up a week ago. So then we bring our bees, pick them up, put them on semis, and bring them to the East Texas, where it's like pine country and just a lot of just natural flowers and not a lot of spray, and just over abundance of pollen with the pine pollen and the berries, and it's just a really healthy place in the nation to raise queen. So we're requeening all of our bees right now and just building back our winter losses, preparing for the summer honey flow in North Dakota again.
So California, Texas, and then you come straight to North Dakota. How about any states in between this or not?
Nope, that's our cycle. But a lot of
Really?
people go to Florida. I mean, a lot of different places too. You can make some honey in Nebraska and Iowa and other states as well. But the Dakotas are still the best for summer honey
Interesting.
production.
That's great to hear. Message comes in, says last fall I asked my bee guy to add 3 more spots in our place for the coming year, and he was happy to do it. Drove him around to find the best places and distance between the sites. So give us a little history here. Give us a little lesson if you could. What are some of the better sites, better places to how far does one hive have to be away from the other? I no idea about any of this.
Yeah, we try to keep them at least a mile. Like a bee yard would be anywhere from, I mean, a small yard would be 24 hives to big yards of like 96 hives. We try to keep them at least a mile apart because the bee can fly up to a couple miles for vegetation, especially in North Dakota when they're not flying around trees. And again, you could take that back to property rights too, where there was a bill in legislation to try to keep our bees so far off any highway in the state of North Dakota. And we did get that one defeated, but they wanted us to keep bees half a mile off any state highway, quarter to half a mile off any state highway.
Is that just because people complaining about hitting bees on their windshield when they're driving, or what's the scoop?
Yeah, we're really not sure.
Okay.
I'm guessing that was probably it, but for as far as beekeepers come, I mean, we love access, and we're the number 1 honey producing state, and it's like telling you can't put a cattle yard. Well, that smells too much on this side of the highway. You got to move that a half mile off the highway. It just became another private property rights issue.
Yeah, you're going down a whole nother ditch right there. Yeah, I can see that. But how many bees do you lose by saying vehicles driving and splatting on the windshield or other type of situations? I mean, how do you keep track of what you have number wise?
Yeah, you don't even really notice or see the difference because in one hive, there's in the middle of summer, you're talking like 70 to 80,000 bees in one hive.
So when you say one hive, I'm picturing these boxes that I see out in the pastures, right? Is each box a hive, or is each stack of boxes a hive, or what do you consider a hive?
So we have 4 hives on a palace. That would be 4 separate boxes. So there's 1 queen in each hive. So there's like 4 queens on one hive. But if you stack that from 1 box to 6 hive, 1 stack, that is a hive.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. So how does a person get them on your property? If people are interested and they say, you know what, I have a lot of sweet clover, coming up here this spring, or what does a person have to do to get that on their property?
The best thing to do would be to call the Department of Ag.
Okay.
So we have to register our hives every year and get beekeepers licenses. So they have all the registered beekeepers in North Dakota. And then you can kind of find out your area, which beekeepers are in your area. And the cell phones, the phone numbers are there to contact.
How many beekeepers come to North and South Dakota, would you say, during the summer?
Oh, well, there's around 400 registered in the state of North Dakota. South Dakota, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, but 40% of those in North Dakota are registered hobbyists, so they would have a few hives like in their backyard.
Oh, okay.
But there's thousands of hives. There's some big ones that come to North Dakota from California. Like you're talking 20, 30, 40, some thousand hives.
Yeah.
Because North Dakota's that good.
How many gallons of honey does North Dakota produce?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well,
the United States produces around 35 million pounds, and a majority of it comes out of North and South Dakota.
It does. Okay. Because I know you drive Highway 12 through North Dakota, South Dakota, especially dropping to South Dakota. There's some big processors, that are right along Highway 12 there that process a lot of honey right there. Where do you get yours all processed at?
We do it ourselves right there in Center, North Dakota.
In Center?
We process.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I think everybody's texting and got away from refined sugar and using honey. It makes everything taste better. I absolutely. And there is a difference between clover, alfalfa, like you said, and then I don't know what else can be. I've never tried anything around almond. Does that taste pretty decent too?
Almond's pretty dark and it's kind of bitter, actually.
Really? Okay.
I would say in California, the orange blossom honey is very delicious.
Okay.
Some years they can make a lot of good orange honey out there. There's sage in the mountains of California.
What would sage honey taste like? That just doesn't sound good to me.
No, I've never had it, but it says up in the mountains that it's really pretty light colored honey, but we've never had it. And in Texas, there's tallow trees and down along the Gulf, and the bees make a lot of honey on the tallow trees, but it's really dark and really bitter and really quite nasty, personally.
What would that be used for then?
To blend.
Okay.
So they'll mix the good sweet tasting honey with the darker honey to kind of give it a better flavor. And then like in North Dakota, I know buckwheat's kind of been a big thing the last couple of years, Scott. I'm sure you've seen some too. And that's kind of some dark, nastier honey too. It doesn't taste the greatest, but makes a lot of honey.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I actually have a neighbor of mine put buckwheat right in the middle of all of his alfalfa fields. And there's a hive or boxes or whatever you want, a couple of hives out in that center area. And it'd be interesting to taste the difference. I mean, for you guys get to say, okay, this came from this place, and you can taste it and be like, okay, how much blending do you have to do here just in the Dakota territory?
We really don't. The honey production is so good, especially like on your sweet clover years with the alfalfa. That's pretty much all you can taste. Sometimes we can get some good sunflower locations, like later in the year, when the sunflowers bloom, and we can tell the difference between the sunflower too. Sunflower is pretty good too, but a lot of it's just kind of just all blended in there together.
It's kind
of.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, that's all right. They make leafy spurge too. I'm sure everybody knows what leafy spurge is. People all try to kill it crazy, but they make a lot of good honey on that too.
On spurge?
But it's kind of
really.
Spurge. Yep. It builds up bees really good in the month of June.
I have never honestly seen anybody any label anywhere that said leafy spurge honey.
And they might not want it on the label, but believe it or not, that toxic weed is good for the bees.
Interesting text comes in. It says motorcycle groups pushed for the bees' distance from the roadway. That's who was pushing for that.
Yeah, I know they did a few years ago for sure. And
interesting.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I can see that. I really can. I used to ride motorcycle too, and I understand that. I mean, but then if you're going to do that, then you better get any pond and any road ditch that has any kind of water in it, because I was cruising down. I can't remember. I think it was Highway 12. I think it was over by Webster, South Dakota area. This was years ago. This is like 2004, 2005, maybe. And just cruising on my Harley, and a duck came out of the pond alongside the highway, and it hit me in the leg, and I thought I broke my leg. I mean, that thing hit me hard. I mean, but I can understand the motorcycle groups doing that, but yeah,
sure. It can't be pleasant getting hit in the face, or getting stung going down with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to fly wherever they have water or vegetation. Doesn't matter how far away you put them from the road, they're going to fly across.
Exactly. No matter where it is.
Yep.
Just keep your eyes out. Motorist, motorcyclist, anybody. If you see hives up in the distance, slow down a little bit, maybe, and be that. Yep. And yeah. So what do you think about, like, you hear years ago there was the killer bees coming in from the south side, from the southern hemisphere. Is there any more talk on that? I know Texas had something or whatever, but now you don't hear anything in the news about that.
More fear tactics, Scott.
Oh, okay.
It reminds us a lot about CWD. Whatever you push fear in the media, it's usually you want to just turn your head and go the other way.
Okay. A message comes in and says, I'm not a fan of citrus honey. Our buddy that we hog hunted with in Florida gave us some very different taste to citrus honey. I guess didn't even know that was a possibility.
Yeah, it is a different taste. My wife's not a real big fan of it either. Some people like the citrus in their coffee. But I think when you open the citrus honey, you can literally smell like citrus, like oranges. Yep.
So do we see any of that stuff ever on the shelves up here in the Dakota Territory side? Is most honey that is in our local grocery stores produced right here in the Dakota Territory mostly?
Well, when you get back to the Pride of North Dakota and stuff, there's a lot of that in the stores, but there's a lot from around the U.S. too in stores. Yes, yep. Okay. The majority of the stuff you get in stores is going to be, other than the Pride of Dakota, majority of it's going to be like filtered and processed and cooked. So you're getting the flavor, but you're not getting the benefits of raw natural honey. So if you want to get it from a local beekeeper.
All natural, baby. That's the way it is. Drizzle honey on your deer steaks after grilling it. I don't know about that, Levi. Okay. All right. We only got about 30 seconds for 40 seconds. People want to come and help for some of these bills in the North Dakota legislature. How do they do that? Who can they talk to and get involved?
Go to Chronic Wasting Disease Facebook page, and you'll see a lot of updates on there as far as legislation goes. And please contact the House committee and vote no on amendments, and just contact your representatives. And it doesn't have to be just in your district. You can contact all the House representatives and vote yes on 2137.
And remember, you voted these guys in. They work for you, or they should, right? I mean, that's how it should be.
That's right.
Yeah. So I appreciate that very much, Dusty. Have fun down in the Texas area. Are you bringing all those bees back here this coming up here this month, or when do you usually start bringing them in?
Around June 10th.
June 10th. Okay. Yep. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the program, my friend. Stay safe down there. Drive safe. All right.
Appreciate you, Scott.
You bet. You bet. Dusty Backer here talking a little CWD, and I didn't know about honey. I love honey. Let's talk about that. All right. Thanks for tuning in on another great Saturday morning here on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Appreciate you. You can hear my program on all these radio stations, plus many, many others. Have a safe weekend. Eat some meat, drink some milk and honey, wear fur and wool, and have yourself a great weekend. And make sure, enjoy that farming and ranching and hunting all go together. All right, stations, thank you. Dusty, appreciate you, man. I'll text you. I will text you my mailing address here, because I go through during the winter. I bet you I go through at least a quart a week.
Wow, yeah, you do go through a lot. Well, I can't wait for you to try ours, because last year was probably some of the best tasting honey in 20 years we've had.
Really?
Yep, it was strictly sweet clover, pretty much.
I love that. Yeah, I go through quite a bit of it, especially in the winter months when I just heat up some water and put it in there. And then I found a secret little recipe. I don't think it's much secret, but I found out a couple years ago announcing a rodeo. My voice was shot. And I came back to New England, North Dakota. And the lady that owns the bar there, she heated up water, put honey in it, and stirred it all up, and then put bullet bourbon on top of that. And it took care of my throat. Like the next 2 days, it felt great. And I thought I was going to have a sore throat forever on that. So that's
fantastic. Geez, another good one is throw a bunch of cinnamon in just with your hot water and honey. Is a delicious taste
cinnamon?
Too. And
okay.
Cinnamon, yep.
I'm going to try that here tonight.
Awesome. That's super tasty.
Yeah, yep. I got a lot of auctions coming up here in the next couple months here. So I got to keep the voice ready to go.
Awesome.
Yeah. And another auctioneer trick that one guy told me, he says, take Neosporin and rub it in your nose, and it keeps you away from getting colds and sneezing and coughing and all that. So
yeah, we've heard that too.
So
yep.
All right, man. Well, you have yourself a good one. Appreciate you.
You too, Scott. Thanks for reaching out again. Appreciate the help.
Yep. Anything you need, just let me know. I can help you out
with
what I can do.
Awesome, Scott. Thanks so much for everything.
You bet. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Well, YouTubers, Levi, I'm going to disagree with you on putting honey on deer steaks. Sweet and meat do not go together. Okay. Like if you serve me breakfast and if we have bacon and pancakes, if the syrup on the pancakes touch the bacon, I am going to just lose my mind. All right. Thanks, Waylon. I appreciate that here. The best honey has legs and wings still in it. The best honey has legs and wings still in it. I'm not sure whether I'm going with that one. That one doesn't make it'll surprise you. Yeah, it'll surprise me and wanting to throw the whole plate of steak away. It's a good way to ruin a steak, Levi. Come on, man. Oh, now I'm getting messages from everybody with you, Scott. No sweet meat. There you go. I'm going to win 2-1. It's fresh. Yeah. When I was growing up, we had this old house next to us, and it had double doors on one of it, and there's bees. And pretty soon we actually had a beekeeper guy come, and he opened it up. Holy moly, that was a giant honeycomb in there. I don't know how much he had got out of that, but he gave us a jar of that stuff, and I still remember that fresh honey. It was so nice here. Oh man, Levi, you're ruining good beef if you put it on there. If you have to put anything on your beef, I'll give you some good tasting stuff here. Lori, beef roast, choke cherry jelly, and bread. No, come on. Why would you ruin the taste of meat? Now we're just gonna get in an argument on the food. I am not a foodie. So you guys are probably all correct. I know nothing about this stuff at all, nor do I want to. Okay. Let's see here. All right. I got to get going. I'm going to go over to the neighbors and help them work some stuff. I'm on an evening feeding pattern with my cows, so I actually have time in the morning to get things done here. All right. Introduce legislation to ban syrup on breakfast meats. I agree with you. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. Have yourself a good one and enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.